3 seconds. Just 3 seconds. But those 3 seconds ended Attorney General Pam Bondi's career. Everyone was watching in the congressional hearing room. The cameras were rolling. And Bondi froze. Representative Jamie Raskin had asked the simplest question. So simple that even a child could have answered it. How many victims are there in the Epstein Files? A number. Just a number. But the Attorney General couldn't answer. 3 seconds of silence. She looked at her lawyers. She looked at the microphone. She looked at her hands. She said nothing. If you're new here, subscribe now because those 3 seconds spoke louder than any confession. And after you watch this video, you'll understand why no one could answer that question. Raskin slowly opened a file and placed the first page on the table. Document 1, he said calmly. The FBI Epstein Investigation Report. Page 47. The paper clearly showed the number. 473 identified victims. Their ages ranged from 14 to 17. The names were blurred in the document. But the number was there. Clear. Undeniable. 473, Raskin paused. Madam Attorney General, he asked, is this number correct? Silence began. 1 second. Bondi looked at the document. As if she hadn't seen it before. As if it weren't her own Justice Department's report. 2 seconds. Her lawyers leaned toward her. They whispered something. Bondi shook his head but didn't speak. 3 seconds. And then he finally answered. Representative Raskin, I don't recall the exact number at this moment. A low murmur rose in the room. He doesn't remember. The Attorney General. The person responsible for the Epstein Files. He doesn't remember the number 473 children. Raskin didn't back down. You don't remember, he repeated. Well, let me remind you. According to the FBI report, there are 473 identified victims. But you didn't know that. Did you? Bondi went on the defensive. Representative, this is complicated. No, Raskin cut him off. This isn't complicated. It's a number. 473, and as Attorney General, you should know that. Then Raskin pulled out the second document. But here's the really interesting thing, he said. How many of those 473 victims had their faces blurred when their files were released? Another silence. This time, 5 seconds. Bondi couldn't answer. Because he knew the answer. But he couldn't say it. Raskin answered for him. All of them. All 473 victims. Their faces were revealed. Their names were revealed. Their privacy was violated. He looked around the room. But the names of the powerful people? They were blurred. If you've been watching so far, don't forget to hit the like button because this isn't just a political scandal, it's a violation of these victims' rights, and write what you think in the comments. Raskin placed the third document on the table. This, he said, is the first version of the Epstein Files released by the Department of Justice on January 15, 2025. He showed the document to the camera. In this version, the victims' faces were blurred. The faces of the powerful names were blurred. It was procedurally correct. Then he lifted another document. This is the second version, released on January 20th, the day you took office. He placed the two documents side by side. Madam Secretary, do you see the difference? Bondi looked at the documents. I don't see the details. The details? Raskin's voice hardened. In the first version, the victims were protected. In the second version, they were exposed. In the first version, the powerful names were blurred. In the second version, they were blurred even more. They were protected even more. Raskin leaned forward. Who changed it? Who ordered it? And why did you protect the powerful instead of the victims? Bondi couldn't respond. His lawyers were now frantically taking notes. But there was no answer. Because the answer was obvious. Someone had given the order. Stop protecting the victims. Protect the powerful. And that order had come during Bondi's term. Raskin pulled out the fourth document. Now I'm going to ask you another question, Madam Secretary. And this time I want a simple yes or no answer. He raised the document. This is an internal memorandum from the Department of Justice. Dated February 3, 2025. Signed by FBI Director Patel, Raskin began to read. All files related to the Epstein investigation will be transferred to headquarters. Field offices cannot conduct investigations without headquarters approval. Witness interviews are suspended. Raskin lowered the paper. Did you approve this memorandum? Silence. 6 seconds this time. The cameras were on Bondi's face. Beads of sweat were visible. Her hands were shaking. Madam Secretary, Raskin repeated. This is a simple question. Yes or a no? Bondi's most senior attorney stood up. Representative Raskin, this question pertains to ongoing executive branch proceedings. No, Raskin was firm. I'm asking about suspended investigations. The FBI's Epstein investigation decreased by 94% after your memorandum. Is that coincidence or policy? The room fell silent. Reporters scribbled furiously. Committee members exchanged nervous glances. And Bondi still couldn't respond. Raskin placed the fifth document on the table. This is Maxwell's court testimony. From 2021. Maxwell named 47 individuals. People connected to Epstein. The FBI recommended investigation. Raskin paused. But none were investigated. Why? Another silence. Bondi opened his mouth. Closed it. Said nothing. Because, Raskin continued, those 47 names were marked not to be investigated. During your tenure as Attorney General. Is that correct? This is procedural. Is that correct? Raskin shouted. The room erupted. People jumped to their feet. Cameras zoomed in. The chairman banged his gavel. Order. Order, but Raskin didn't stop. He held up the final document. This list. An internal FBI document. Updated in 2025. Individuals exempted from the Epstein investigation. 47 names. A code next to each one. Raskin began reading. Code A, Political Sensitivity, 12 names. Code B, Diplomatic Relations, 8 names. Code C, National Security, 15 names. Code D, Executive Branch Protection, 12 names. Share this video everywhere because Bondi's silence is an admission, and it should be the voice of these victims. People need to know the truth. Executive Branch Protection, Raskin repeated. 12 people are being shielded from the Epstein investigation by the White House. In your department. Under your watch. He looked at Bondi. Who are they? What are their names? And why are they being protected? Silence. 10 seconds. Bondi didn't speak. Her lawyers didn't speak. Just silence. You can't answer, Raskin said. Because if you answer, the truth comes out. Those 12 names come out. And you can't say that. Raskin gathered his papers. But let me tell you this, Madam Secretary. None of those 473 victims were protected. Their faces were revealed. Their names were revealed. Their lives were ruined. But those 47 powerful names? They are being protected. By you. Raskin stood up. This is not justice. This is a cover-up. The hearing then continued technically. Other representatives asked questions. Bondi gave evasive answers. But no one was listening. Because everyone remembered that silence. 3 seconds. 6 seconds. 10 seconds. Each time, Bondi couldn't answer. And each silence was an admission. That night, Twitter exploded. Hashtag Bondi silence trended. Video clips went viral. Those 3 seconds of silence. Bondi's face. The panicked whispers of the lawyers. Raskin's documents. Everything was shared. Analysts debated. 3 seconds of silence is worse than lying, they said. Because silence shows you know something but can't say it. A former prosecutor explained on CNN, Bondi knows the answers to those questions. She read the FBI reports. She saw the numbers. She saw the names. But she can't say it. Because if she does, she can't protect someone. Another analyst added, that list of 47 names is real. Code D is real. Executive branch protection is real. And Bondi confirmed this by remaining silent. The next day, newspapers ran headlines. Bondi's silence, 3 seconds of confession, 473 victims, 0 answers. Editorials were harsh. The Attorney General's job is to protect victims. But Bondi is protecting the powerful. Sacrificing victims. And he can't explain it. Democratic senators demanded Bondi's resignation. An attorney general who doesn't know the number of Epstein victims cannot remain in office, they said. But Republicans remained silent. Why? Because they didn't know who was on that list of 47 names. Maybe there were people from their own side. Maybe Trump's associates. It was safer to remain silent. Thank you for watching the video to the end. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications because Bondi's silence story isn't over. More documents will emerge, and I will continue to keep you updated on every development. A week later, Raskin requested another hearing. Bondi didn't respond. But there are answers. There's that list of 47 names. There are codes. There are protective orders. And the American people deserve to know. A hearing date was set. February 15, 2026. Bondi was summoned again. Questions would be asked again. But this time, Raskin would come armed with more documents. More evidence. And Bondi won't have the luxury of remaining silent. Because silence won't suffice this time. This time, answers will be required. Those 3 seconds changed America. They showed what it means to be unable to answer a simple question. 473 victims. 0 protection. 47 powerful names. Full protection. And the Attorney General can't explain it. Because if he does, the system collapses. The truth comes out. And that truth is, justice isn't for everyone. It's only for the powerful.